this video took very long, and that's why it's a two-parter, by the way. It's as hard as you would think it is. Nothing has infuriated me and frustrated me more than making this video, but it was fun. Yes, you read the title right. I am restarting the NBA in NBA 2K22 in my league, or I guess my NBA, from 1949/50, that season, the first ever NBA season. I'm restarting the whole damn thing. Oh my god. It's a lot, but I'm kind of excited. This is gonna be a good time. A lot of stuff happens. Okay, I need to explain a lot of things because there's a lot of problems with this video. First thing is that I messed up. There's 2 seasons where I just straight up messed up. So there's 2 seasons. There are like lockout seasons that don't even happen. I'm sorry. That's my bad. Oh well, get over it. Second thing is that, as you can imagine, right, there's not a lot of players from the 50s and 60s in NBA 2K, right? That's why when I see a lot of videos of like rebuilding or restarting the NBA, they start from like the mid 70s. No one starts from the 50s, and that's because there's like 3 players every season that I could find that could add into my league, right? I had to find someone that just happened to make a 1950s roster for every year for the draft every year. And so, for example, you're gonna see a lot of garbage men. So they call these players garbage men. And these are like the extra players, the 40 overall that they just added into drafts because like there wasn't enough players to add because there wasn't any famous players or people that made a draft in the first place, right? So it's kind of complicated. This is gonna be a long video. I'll explain every season as we go on. This should be fun. Let's get it. Let's go. The first NBA season in 1950. Here's the draft. So basically I got all 30 NBA teams. So back then there wasn't 30 NBA teams. There was like, what, 8, right, or something like that. So there's 30 now. So there's very little amount of players spread out across 30 teams. So basically every NBA team has like 1 actual real NBA player for the start of the NBA. So very complicated. For the draft, the first couple picks was the Atlanta Hawks got George Mikan. That's a massive player. He was dominating for the Lakers back in the NBA. Dolph Schayes with the Kings. Joe Fultz with the Celtics. And then after that, I think it's a bunch of players that like maybe were famous at the time, but I just do not know them. So basically the Hawks, Kings, and Celtics are the first like big NBA teams that actually had like real big NBA players at the time. For our first ever MVP that season, it was Dolph Schayes, averaging only 18.5 points on 18 rebounds per game, which is a lot, on 50% from the field. Yeah, this was the first MVP. You're gonna hear Dolph Schayes' name a lot, but the biggest thing is look at the points. That's probably the lowest points per game for an MVP you're gonna see in this video for sure. Here you're gonna see basically the big 5 of the NBA: Bob Davies, Bobby Mo Wanzer. You're gonna have to remember that name. Dolph Schayes, Joe Fultz, and Alex Rosa. Basically some pretty big names. And somehow George Mikan doesn't make All-NBA first, second, or third team. And he was healthy. He was injured for a little bit during the season, but he was healthy for most of the season. I have zero clue how he didn't make All-NBA. Robbery, 100%. But at the end of it all, our NBA Finals was the Rockets versus the Atlanta Hawks. So it was George Mikan's Hawks versus Bobby Wanzer's Rockets. And the Rockets upset the Hawks to win the first ever NBA championship, with Bobby Wanzer being the best player on the team. Pretty big deal. The first NBA championship's awesome, and Bobby Wanzer kind of goes crazy, okay? But then there was a problem. In 1951, oh God, in 1951, they basically reset everyone. I guess I realized that because everyone was drafted, no one had a contract, so everyone was on a brand new team the next season. Again, I'm not really sure what happened. So, and then I messed up the years. So 1951 basically was like a reset season again, right? The same players, new players coming in, but the league never had a season that year. So just ignore this season. 1952 is when all the changes happened. So Dolph Schayes is now on the Nuggets. This is a big deal. Dolph Schayes going to the Nuggets is going to change the NBA forever because the Nuggets become a franchise to remember. Mikan now leaves the Hawks and goes to the Pacers. And then Joe Fultz stays with the Celtics. Bob Davies goes to the Warriors. Harry Guillotine to the Pacers with George Mikan, which is a big deal. But Bobby Wanzer stays on the Rockets. So Dolph Schayes wins MVP again with a much more improved MVP season with the Nuggets now. So Dolph Schayes back-to-back MVPs. Paul Arizin joins the NBA as Rookie of the Year with crazy Rookie of the Year numbers on the Bulls. And then the first team again is basically the same now with Bill Sharman and George Mikan on first team All-NBA. Oh, and Bob Cousy is now on the Knicks, by the way. And he was injured this season, but he was on the Knicks and he was fantastic. But something to pay attention to is the first really good team in the NBA forms with the Pacers with George Mikan. So George Mikan goes to the Pacers, and now they get Harry Guillotine, who was a great player at the time, and Earl Lloyd. Earl Lloyd was the first black NBA player ever, and he's going to join the Pacers and be an integral part to this team. But this season, the Rockets somehow make it back. They upset Dolph Schayes' Nuggets, and they somehow make it back to the finals with Wanzer still the best player, and Paul Risen as a rookie drags the Bulls, somehow beating that super team in Indiana with Mikan to the finals. This is going to be a hype season. It's looking pretty good. You can see the classic jersey versions here. I'm going to do this for every single finals, or at least I try to, where you're going to see like the classic jersey with the players on the team. So you see Bobby Wanzer's Rockets with the old-time Rockets jerseys with Paul Risen's Bulls. Let's see who wins the second ever NBA championship. And the Rockets go back to motherfucking back with Bobby Wanzer being that dude. He's not even the best player in the league, not even top 5 really. Maybe he is, but he's leading this team. He's a winner. He is the first like real definition of a champion. They're the first back-to-back NBA champions ever, and you're gonna see that this is the first one for a long time. So this is like, the Rockets are like the first great team. It's a pretty big deal. Then we got 1953. All right, so Bob Cousy wins MVP, averaging 28 points per game, which is a really big deal. And look at the three-point field goal percentage, 44% from three. Now, there's a three-point line now. So back then there wasn't a three-point line. Now you're gonna see that there is a three-point line here in the current NBA. So that's gonna be kind of a change for sure. So bigs aren't as dominant as they were before. They're still dominant, but not as much as they were before. You know that guy on ESPN, Mad Dog, who was saying that Bob Cousy is better than like current NBA players? Maybe he's right. Bob Cousy shooting 44% from three is a pretty big deal. And you're going to see Bobby Wanzer wins his first award as Sixth Man of the Year, which is funny. The guy that's basically dominating the NBA right now is also Sixth Man. I mean, talk about the greatest Sixth Man ever. And then George Mikan wins his first award as Defensive Player of the Year. So this finals is basically, this is the big one. I mean, this is like the like headlines everywhere. George Mikan's cracked, broken Pacers team versus Bobby Wanzer's Rockets, who are trying to go for the three-peat. And it's even crazier because now the Rockets have Frankie Bryan and Ralph Beard, so they're kind of really good now. Let's see, can the Rockets three-peat, or do the Pacers, as Mikan get his first? Here you see the lineup, and the Pacers win it in 5. Mikan gets his first championship and a Finals MVP. They upset the Rockets, who were also a pretty good team at the time too. So already the NBA is kind of getting fire. From the first 3 seasons, it's kind of getting wild. But we go to 1954, and Mikan wins his MVP. This is kind of like the turn from Bobby Wanzer's NBA. Now it's Mikan's NBA. This is kind of like the passing of the torch pretty quickly. Mikan gets MVP with 34 points per game, which is insanity, with almost 19 rebounds a game. Absurd numbers. He also wins Defensive Player of the Year, which is just broken already. Mikan's Pacers do not make the NBA Finals. It's actually the Nuggets with Dolph Schayes, and basically it's like Jim Pollard and Dick McGuire. And then you have the Knicks with Bob Cousy, and that's basically it. So Bob Cousy kind of carries this team and has to go up against 2-time MVP Dolph Schayes. Pretty big deal of the finals again. Let's see who pulls it out. And it's actually the Nuggets who defeat the underutilized and under-talented Knicks. And Dolph Schayes wins his first championship, now as a 2-time MVP, and wins a Finals MVP. Dolph Schayes is already starting to get into the GOAT conversation. Like, yeah, Bobby Wanzer has 2 chips, but Dolph Schayes has MVPs and chips now. It's getting pretty crazy. But now we go to 1955. Bob Cousy wins another MVP. So that's Bob Cousy's second MVP award. Mikan gets Defensive Player of the Year again, but now he's on the Blazers, so he jumps teams. And then we have the greatest team of all time, 72-10 Lakers. What happened here? This is kind of a weird one. So the Lakers get Carl Braun and Bob Brenham, and I was confused as to why this team won so many damn games. But that's actually because they have Alex Goza on the team that was injured but came back for the finals. So he goes to the Lakers into the finals. Alex Goza is on the team who's the best player. And that's why the Lakers were so stacked at the time against this Celtics team that had Joe Fultz, and that was really it. So they didn't stand a chance at all. And obviously the Lakers destroyed this team. So this is probably going to go down in history as the greatest team in NBA ever, right? Alex Groza gets his finals MVP with 19 points per game and 12 rebounds. Dominating. So 1956, this is the other season that I kind of messed up. So I kind of created a story for this because I messed it up. So, okay, so basically this is the lockout year. Bobby Wanzer decides to go to the Pacers instead of staying with the Rockets, and the Pacers were already broken. So it creates the first super team, and so players go on a strike. That's what happened. That's my story. Shut up. Okay, 1957. We have now Dolph Schayes on the Nets. Bob Cousy goes to the Celtics, which is hilarious to me. And Jack Twyman goes to the Nuggets. This is about to change the NBA forever. So Bob Pettit wins MVP, almost a 30-point per game season. Has his first MVP. Pretty big deal for Pettit. He's a great player, as you already know. He won chips back in the day, so it's not a surprise here. And Maurice Stokes gets his Defensive Player of the Year award while averaging 28 points per game. You could even argue he probably deserved MVP over Pettit. Now, this season's finals is a little weird as well. We get Warriors and Pistons. Warriors were the first seed, Pistons were the second seed. And Pistons had Bob Pettit, who was the MVP of the NBA, with Andy Phillip. And then on the Warriors, you had Arnie Rison, and that was it. So kind of an under-talented Warriors team up against the MVP with a pretty solid team. This is supposed to be a wash for the Pistons, at least in my opinion, and yet somehow the Warriors clutch it out in 7 games, and Arnie Rison only averaging 11 points per game in the finals, gets finals MVP. Maybe the greatest upset in NBA championship history for this time. It was a really weird thing. We go to 1958, and Jack Twyman wins MVP. This is a big deal. You're going to need to start paying attention. So he averaged 36 points per game on 15 rebounds and 4 assists, and has a 50% field goal percentage with 42% from 3. He's a big deal. He's a big deal in this NBA. I need you to know that right now. He gets All-NBA first team, but he loses in the second round. And that's because the NBA Finals is the Miami Heat versus the Trailblazers. The Miami Heat now have Earl Lloyd, remember the first black NBA player, decides to leave to Miami to be the best player on his team with Slater Martin and Harry Guillotine, with Paul Seymour. It's a pretty stacked roster. And even Mel Hutchins, it's a really good team. And then you're playing up against the Blazers that have George Mikan, like the George Mikan, with Vince Boyola and Gene Shue and Bob Harris, so a couple players here. It's both teams are pretty stacked. One has the better player with George Mikan, but the better team of Miami Heat. Who wins this finals? And here you see the Miami Heat with Earl Lloyd leads this team to an NBA championship, has an amazing finals, and yet they give the finals MVP to Harry Guillotine. If that's not racism, I don't know what is. 1959, we're about to end the 50s, and Bill Russell is drafted to the Pelicans. Let's see if he can continue his 11 championships in this modern NBA. I doubt it. Dolph Schayes wins his 3rd MVP, which is a big deal at the time because no one had even come close to doing that. Rookie of the Year is Bill Russell, and that's not even a debate, like, obviously. And Coach of the Year, Mike Malone, another 72-10 team. This is the only other 72-10 team ever in NBA history next to the Lakers team with Alex Gorza, okay? So this Nuggets team had Dolph Schayes, the 3-time MVP, and Jack Twyman, who's the best player on the team. You may think that's not a big deal, but these two were the 2 best forwards in the NBA on the same team at the time. And you have Jack Coleman coming off the bench. It's a stacked roster with Fred Scolari as the point guard. And so obviously they made the NBA Finals against the Celtics. Now the Celtics team had Bob Cousy, as you know. But again, Bob Cousy's kind of curse right now is that that's it. That's like all he has, right? He's kind of alone every time he gets to the finals. So obviously he gets his ass beat. And the Nuggets win another championship. But Dolph Schayes doesn't win Finals MVP. That's Jack Twyman who wins Finals MVP. So Jack Twyman now has an MVP, a Finals MVP, and a chip, just like his teammate, Dolph Schayes. It's a big deal. But now we enter the 60s, and this is where the NBA and the names that you kind of know are going to start coming in. But Dolph Schayes wins his 4th MVP, I believe. This is officially making Dolph Schayes an all-time great. I mean, 2 NBA championships, 4 MVPs. Dolph Schayes is already looking like the GOAT of the NBA. Reggie Gruen averages 39 points per game with the Timberwolves, which is one of the highest point per game seasons ever. And our NBA Finals is going to be the Nuggets versus the Bulls. No surprise the Nuggets are going to the finals again. They're stacked. And this is why they're even more stacked than you thought. Because not only do they have Dolph Schayes and Jack Twyman, but they added Bob Cousy. Yes, they have 3 MVPs on their roster at the exact same time in their primes. This is the first ever super team. It is the most unfair team maybe ever. I don't think we've ever seen 3 players this good on the same team at the same time. It is not fair. And they're up against the Bulls that have Paul Risen, and that's it. So you can imagine what's about to happen here. The Nuggets win. They only lose 1 game in the playoffs, which is probably the most impressive playoff performance ever by a team. This team dominated, and Jack Twyman wins another Finals MVP. This is Jack Twyman's league right now. He's kind of dominating. It's a name that I had never even really thought about, and now in this brand new franchise, this new NBA that we've created, he's one of the best players ever. That's kind of hype. But now we go to 1961, and Sam Jones has the greatest NBA season ever. The problem is, for whatever reason, the guy that made the roster when I was making rookie drafts, he didn't use actual Sam Jones's face. I don't know why. It's a player created Sam Jones, but it's Sam Jones. It's just really annoying that he did that. But a 41 point per game season for Sam Jones. No one had ever done this in the new NBA. Not even Wilt Chamberlain. No one else. Not even Michael Jordan. He's the only player to ever have a season this dominant ever. It's pretty cool. Wilt Chamberlain is Rookie of the Year with 25 points per game on 16 rebounds. Oh my God. And our NBA Finals isn't with the Denver Nuggets. They get upset by the Lakers, so it's going to be a Lakers Magic NBA Finals. The Lakers have Jack Twyman. Yes, that's the storyline of this year. In 1961, bro, Jack Twyman beats his old team because he goes to the Lakers. He beats his old team, the Nuggets, with Vern Mickelson, and goes to the NBA Finals and plays against Bob Pettit's Magic team with Earl Lloyd, who was the first black player, now on this team. And here they are trying to win a championship together. It's kind of hype. Jack Twyman, maybe the biggest name in the NBA right now, versus Bob Pettit, an MVP with Earl Lloyd. Who's going to win this championship? And believe it or not, the Magic pull through. Bob Pettit wins his first championship, and he's on the Magic. And Earl Lloyd wins his second championship, and it's a really big deal. It is Bob Pettit's league now in 1961. So we go to 1962. 1962, Bob Cousy wins another MVP. Oscar Robertson wins Rookie of the Year, but he doesn't average a triple-double, so he's a casual. And the NBA Finals we have is the Miami Heat and the Lakers. Twyman makes another NBA Finals appearance, and then the Heat are coming back to the Finals with Paul Risen to try and win one. It's a pretty big deal, another Finals, but at the end of the day, the Heat beat the Lakers. Jack Twyman isn't able to win another championship, and Paul Risen wins his first NBA championship and his first Finals MVP. So pretty crazy season for this one as well. We go to 1963, and Elgin Baylor wins his first NBA MVP. Get used to me saying that a lot. Wilt Chamberlain wins Defensive Player of the Year, and our NBA Finals is the Warriors with Defensive Player of the Year, Wilt Chamberlain with Cliff Hagan and Hot Rod Hudney, a pretty solid roster, versus the Brooklyn Nets with Dick Duckett and Bob Boozer, who Bob Boozer is going to be a Defensive Player of the Year that you're going to have to remember. So a pretty good Finals, to be honest with you, a pretty hype one. But of course, ever betting against Wilt Chamberlain in the Finals is a mistake unless it's Bill Russell. And Wilt Chamberlain wins his first NBA championship and a Finals MVP. And even though Elgin Baylor had an amazing season, he got eliminated in the first round. And so in 1964, when Elgin Baylor is MVP again and Wilt Chamberlain is Defensive Player of the Year again, you would think Elgin Baylor would be, you know, going to the Finals or something. But no, instead, we have a Miami Heat Kings Finals. And again, Elgin Baylor gets eliminated in the first round. Get used to me saying that. So the Miami Heat now have Jack Twyman. Bro, this guy is like addicted to NBA Finals. I don't know what's the deal with this dude. With John Richter and Paul Risen. So this is a pretty stacked team. I mean, Jack Twyman, Paul Risen, 2 NBA champions on the same team is a pretty big deal. And then you have the Kings with Jerry West and Don Ohl, 2 really good players. Jerry West trying to win his first championship against the god himself, Jack Twyman. You're not going to stop him though, because Jack Twyman wins his 3rd NBA championship with his 3rd Finals MVP. He has an MVP. We're looking at him and Dolph Schayes as maybe being the greatest NBA player of all time already. Jack Twyman is a name that you need to remember forever, because this dude was a GOAT. So 1965, Elgin Baylor wins his 3rd MVP in a row. Wilt Chamberlain wins his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year in a row. Actually, Elgin Baylor actually has a really good season and barely misses the Finals, losing the Hawks. Dude, Elgin Baylor this was his closest chance to ever win a championship, sadly. The Hawks, who had Jimmy Neal and Red Kerr, so not even that good of a roster, were the team that beat him. And then they're playing against the Wilt Chamberlain, Hot Rod Hudney's Warriors. And no surprise here, the Warriors win another championship. And Wilt Chamberlain gets his second chip. So, really big deal for Wilt Chamberlain. He ends his career with 2 championships, which is awesome. And he averages 30 points and 20 rebounds in the finals. It's pretty ridiculous. 1966, Elgin Baylor wins his 4th MVP in a row. And Bob Boozer wins his first Defensive Player of the Year. Now, Elgin Baylor does not make it to the conference finals this year, loses in the second round to the Hawks again, by the way. And the Miami Heat versus the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals. We have Gene Shue, Cliff Hagan, Jerry Lucas, and Clyde Levitel. Pretty stacked roster at the time. Versus the Miami Heat's Jack Twyman again with Paul Risen. Yeah, dude, Jack Twyman made a lot of NBA Finals. It's just what he does. But this time the San Antonio Spurs win in 7 games. My Spurs, baby. We get our 1 championship. Jerry Lucas gets Finals MVP, and they have a pretty stacked roster. This was more of a team basketball beats good players kind of season. It was hype. Now we go to 1967. Elgin Baylor wins his 5th MVP in a row. And Rick Barry wins Rookie of the Year. We have Wilt Chamberlain winning another Defensive Player of the Year. And this finals is the Lakers versus the Nets, while freaking Elgin Baylor gets swept in the first round again. So, Lakers-Nets. You're going to see a Bill Russell-led Lakers. I know, Bill Russell on the Lakers makes me want to vomit just as much as you do. His teammate Red Kerr's also on the team. They're playing against the Nets that have Bob Boozer, who's a multiple Defensive Player of the Year, and Dale Bellamy. So, 2 pretty good rosters, both Defensive Player of the Year players. And the Lakers win their first ever NBA championship with Bill Russell as Finals MVP for his namesake. It's pretty cool. It's his first championship. Now he's not left behind by Wilt Chamberlain. They're both greats. 1968. Wilt Chamberlain goes to the Nets, which is a big deal at the time because now he's with Bob Boozer, which is crazy. 6th MVP in a row for Elgin Baylor. But the NBA Finals is the Blazers and the Bulls. So the Blazers have Lenny Wilkins, and that's really it. And then the Bulls have Nate Thurman, and that's also kind of it for the Bulls. Kind of a throwaway year, and the Bulls upset Lenny Wilkins, and Nate Thurman wins his first NBA championship. Now, 1969, Dolph Schayes retires as one of the greatest players in NBA history. He has 3 MVPs, 3 NBA championships, and 12 All-Star appearances. It was a big deal. Elgin Baylor wins his 7th damn MVP. I can't even believe it at this point. Bob Boozer wins Defensive Player of the Year. And the NBA Finals is the Wizards versus the Lakers. The Wizards have Jerry West and Dick Van Arsdale, so a really good team. And the Lakers have Bill Russell with Red Kerr on the bench. So it's going to be a close one. Bill Russell versus Jerry West. We've known about this finals for a long time. And this time, Bill Russell beats Jerry West. Just like real life, bro. He just can't catch a break. Bill Russell wins his 2nd NBA championship, 2nd Finals MVP, and now ties with Wilt Chamberlain when it comes to Finals MVPs and championships, which is a big deal. And now we're in the 70s. This is more of what you guys know. This is definitely gonna be the players and the names that we're gonna be like, oh, I know that guy. Because before we were just talking about the 50s and 60s, the least popular eras of the NBA. Now we're in the 70s. So Bob Cousy retires with 1 MVP and 15 All-Star appearances, and Bob Pettit also retires with an NBA championship and 10 All-Star appearances. So pretty big retirements. And Jack Twyman retired with an MVP and 3 NBA championships and 2 Finals MVPs. Jack Twyman is remembered at the time as in the conversation as a GOAT. So Rick Barry wins MVP this season, which is his first MVP. And the NBA Finals is going to be the Detroit Pistons versus the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets find the way to make the finals again, bro. As the 6th seed, by the way. So this Pistons team is pretty stacked. It's Rick Barry, Hal Greer, pretty ridiculous. But this Nuggets team is also pretty good. They have Bob Boozer and Tom Henson. So 2 pretty good rosters. This should be a pretty close one. And the Nuggets as a 6th seed, which is the lowest seed to ever win a championship, beat the stacked Pistons. And the Nuggets win their 4th NBA championship, which is a record. And Bob Boozer wins Finals MVP in his first NBA championship. It's a pretty crazy year to start off the new decade. 1971, we get the Blazers versus the Knicks, and Kareem gets drafted by the Lakers, which is actually hilarious to me. And Elgin Baylor wins his 8th MVP, by the way. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the Blazers have Lenny Wilkins, who is really good at this point, with Andy Keller on his team. And then with the Knicks, it is Dave DeBusschere and Jawan Bellamy as the 2 best players for the Knicks. But Lenny Wilkins has deserved it and won his first NBA championship, barely beating the Knicks, having Finals MVP rights. He earned this one because he's been good for a long time in this league. 1972, Rick Barry gets his second MVP. Bob Boozer gets his fifth Defensive Player of the Year, which is ridiculous. And Elgin Baylor, again, gets eliminated with the Magic in the conference finals. This was another chance for him, but he isn't able to pull through. As the first team in the NBA, he chokes it. So we have a Celtics Nuggets finals. It is going to be a Celtics team that has nobody. I mean, this is a Cinderella run. There is no official NBA player on this team because, again, like I told you, there's not a lot of teams that can have all the NBA players because there's like 3 NBA players in some of these drafts that I had to download. So this Celtics team has basically no one that's a real NBA player. And they Cinderella run to the finals against the Nuggets, who are stacked. I mean, Tom Henson, Bob Boozer, Pete Maravich as a rookie, Oscar Blair. I mean, it's not even fair. And so obviously the Nuggets absolutely destroyed them in 5 games. And Bob Boozer wins his second NBA championship with 5 Defensive Player of the Years. He's also turning out to be one of the greatest players of all time. 1973, Rick Barry wins another MVP, which is just ridiculous at this point. And Artis Gilmore wins his first Defensive Player of the Year award. And the NBA Finals that we're going to be watching is the Bulls versus the Rockets. Elgin Baylor again gets eliminated in the conference finals. Rockets return to the finals ever since the beginning of the NBA with Rudy Tomjanovich, who, that's the guy that got punched in the face and was the coach for the Rockets back in the day. So he actually Cinderella runs, leads this team as a 79 overall to the finals against this Bulls team, and the Rockets sweep, and Rudy Tomjanovich wins his first NBA championship and finals MVP. Big deal at the time, a Cinderella run for sure. 1974, Elgin Baylor, at what, like 32 years old, wins his 9th MVP. This will be the record for MVPs ever. It won't even be close. Elgin Baylor dominates again with the Blazers this time because he jumped ship. He's really trying to win a championship. He's ring chasing for sure at this point, but sadly, he does not make the championship again. He gets out in the second round, and we have a Nets versus Kings finals. This Nets team had Cam Campbell, but the Kings had Julius Erving, and so there was no chance. And they had Charlie Scott on the team, Jerry Lucas, Wes Unseld. Roster-wise, this is maybe one of the greatest teams of all time. And of course, the Kings won the championship, and Dr. J wins his first championship. Not even a fair season at all. 1975, we have Artis Gilmore wins his first MVP, and he also wins Defensive Player of the Year this season. And it was such a dominant season that Artis Gilmore's Raptors with Bob Lanier go to the finals with Tom Henson on the team as well. It's pretty stacked versus the Grizzlies that have Rick Barry and Billy Cunningham. 2 great teams. This should be a pretty good finals. And at the end of the day, the Grizzlies pull through and beat Artis Gilmore's Raptors. And Billy Cunningham wins finals MVP, not Rick Barry. 1976, Artis Gilmore gets another MVP, and he also wins Defensive Player of the Year again. And we have a finals repeat. Artis Gilmore wants to run it back. He says, give me that championship. Plays the Grizzlies, same team, and this time the Raptors pull through and win the championship. It's a big deal. It's kind of the first rivalry in NBA history where 2 teams meet each other back-to-back seasons. Really hype season, and Artis Gilmore wins his championship. 1977, Dr. J wins his first championship and goes to the Warriors and averages 35 points and 11 rebounds. A crazy season. But the finals is actually the Bulls that have Austin Carr, who's a 98 overall that season, and OKC that has David Thompson, who's getting crazy buckets that season. And OKC wins the championship, and David Thompson wins his only championship this season and finals MVP. A very short season. 1978, Bob McAdoo wins MVP on the Knicks. This is his first MVP, while Dr. J wins Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm surprised because he's not really known for being a Defensive Player of the Year that often. But he gets 30 points per game this season while being Defensive Player of the Year. Is one of the most impressive seasons ever. And our finals are the Bulls versus the Nuggets. The Nuggets somehow find a way to make the finals again versus this Chicago Bulls team with Austin Carr, who's again nasty, and the Nuggets team that have Artis Gilmore. So Artis Gilmore joins the Nuggets, which is absurd because he's already great. Pete Maravich is on this team, and Larry Kennan. It's not even fair. Let's see who wins this championship. And it is the Bulls that pull through in 7 games, and Austin Carr, who had been having crazy seasons, wins his first NBA championship and deserving of it. 1979, Bob McAdoo wins MVP again. Bernard King is Rookie of the Year. These are 2 NBA players that you're gonna have to start remembering because this is the rivalry of the 80s basically. And we have a Knicks-Kings final. So the Knicks have Bob McAdoo looking for his first NBA championship, and we have the Kings with Wes Unseld and Adrian Dantley. Basically, this one should be a wrap, and that's because the Kings have just a much better team. But they barely squeak by in 7 games, and the Knicks win in Game 7. Bob McAdoo wins his first NBA championship and Finals MVP. It's a great time for Bob McAdoo. Okay, we're entering the 80s. This will be the final decade of this video. It's been a long one. Help me. But we're in the 80s. Bob McAdoo wins his third MVP in a row. Elgin Baylor's laughing. And Elgin Baylor wins 6th Man of the Year. So a man wins 9 MVPs and now 6th Man of the Year on the Grizzlies. He's really trying to win this championship. I'm telling y'all, man, he's really going for it. But again, the Grizzlies don't even make the playoffs. So Elgin Baylor just ruins his career, doesn't get anywhere with it. And Bob McAdoo's Knicks goes to the NBA Finals with Sidney Wicks, which is a great player to have on your team, is number 2, and Norm Nixon as well. And they're playing against the Clippers that have Jack Sikma and no one else. So as you can imagine, they get destroyed by the Knicks. And Bob McAdoo wins his 2nd NBA championship with 3 MVPs. He's starting to dominate the NBA for sure. McAdoo wins MVP in 1981, getting his 4th MVP in a row. But Bob McAdoo goes to the Nuggets. What? Why? This Nuggets franchise just keeps getting rich and rich and rich, bro. The Knicks win back-to-back championships with Bob McAdoo, and he's like, deuces, y'all. And he goes to the Nuggets. That's wild. But Bob McAdoo averages 30 points per game on 70% from the field, is one of the most efficient seasons ever. And this Nuggets team is not fair, y'all. Magic Johnson wins Rookie of the Year with the Wolves. And here we go. This Nuggets roster is Bob McAdoo and Artis Gilmore on the exact same team with Brad Davies. It's not even fair. And they're up against the Celtics in the NBA Finals. They have basically no one. They had George Gervin, but he's injured, so there's no one on this team. And so obviously the Nuggets absolutely dominate the Celtics. Bob McAdoo wins Finals MVP. He wins another championship. Bob McAdoo is just going nuts. 1982, Bob McAdoo wins his 5th MVP in a row. He is turning into the GOAT real fast, let me tell you. Nuggets go to the finals again, but this time they're playing the Hawks with Bernard King. Okay, so this Nuggets franchise has been taking over the league. Bob McAdoo has been dominating, right? And here come the Hawks with basically no one besides Bernard King and old Elvin Hayes, right? What are they gonna do against this monster Nuggets team? And Bernard King somehow wins in 7 games and wins his first championship with the Hawks, surprise beating the Nuggets and stopping McAdoo from being the greatest ever, no question. And the Knicks team that literally Bob McAdoo just left ended up becoming the worst franchise ever with a 9-73 record, and Norm Nixon was the best player. How long is this video? Oh my God, help me. 1983, Elgin Baylor retires. He retires with 9 MVPs, 16 All-Star appearances. I don't think anybody will ever beat that record unless Bob McAdoo keeps going crazy, and he wins no championships for his career. It's kind of nuts. Just like in real life, just like in 2K, Elgin Baylor can't win championships. Bernard King wins MVP. So this is his first MVP, and he also wins Defensive Player of the Year this year. And he had just won a championship. So Bernard King's on top of the world right now. This is the namesake. But our NBA Finals is the Grizzlies. So this was crazy because Julius Erving goes to the Grizzlies, right? This is the same year that Elgin Baylor retires. So if Elgin Baylor had stayed with the Grizzlies, he would have went to the NBA Finals with Dr. J. That's wild. And they play against the Miami Heat, who always find a way to make the finals as well, with Mitch Hudson and Brad Davies and Junior Bridgman. So a couple names here. The Miami Heat win this championship, surprising Dr. J. And yeah, definitely a weird season as well. Not the most exciting one. 1984, Magic Johnson wins his first MVP finally. Bernard King wins Defensive Player of the Year again. And our finals is not Magic. It's actually going to be the Pacers and the Lakers. So the Pacers with Truck Robinson and Bob McAdoo. So now Bob McAdoo went to the Pacers. And this man just jumping teams left and right, the real snake. And the Lakers with Dave Cowens and Walt Frazier, so Clyde, is on this team. Let's see who wins the championship, and it's actually the Pacers. Bob McAdoo wins his 4th NBA championship. He has 5 MVPs, and I think he is solidified as the GOAT of basketball as of today. 1985, Julius Erving wins MVP with 22 points per game. I believe this is his 2nd MVP ever. Bernard King wins Defensive Player of the Year again. But our finals is different. It is the Pelicans versus the Pacers. This team has Kevin McHale, George Johnson, Larry Nance, a pretty solid roster against the god himself, Bob McAdoo on the Pacers, who's starting to get old with Byron Russell, Ricky Patterson. Not the greatest team. So there's definitely a chance for the Pelicans can win. And that's exactly what happens. In 7 games, the Pelicans pull through and Kevin McHale wins his first championship and Finals MVP, stopping Bob McAdoo from getting 6 championships. It's a big deal at the time, obviously. 1986, Bernard King wins another MVP. I believe he wins his 2nd. But now on the Magic. Michael Jordan is Rookie of the Year, obviously, with the Suns. And Bernard King also wins Defensive Player of the Year. So Bernard King really out here doing great things, but doesn't make the finals. It's the Hornets versus the Pelicans. The Pelicans come back to the finals with Kevin McHale, while the Hornets have Reggie Theis, Jim Paxson, Tom Chambers, Bobby Jones. Pretty stacked roster all around. While the Pelicans team had actually added Alex English to the team. So both teams really good. And actually, the Hornets pull through, and Reggie Theis, or Theus, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. This was the guy on the Bulls that thought he was supposed to be the Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan came in, and like he was offended that Michael Jordan took his spot. It's a whole thing. But hey, he's backing up what he believes. Finals MVP for the Hornets, a surprise team to win the championship. In 1987, Magic Johnson wins another MVP. Patrick Ewing goes to the Nuggets as Rookie of the Year. I swear, the Nuggets just get the greatest luck of all time. And Kevin McHale wins Defensive Player of the Year. But our NBA Finals is the Warriors versus the Magic. The Warriors team is kind of weird. It's Sleepy Floyd and Wayne Cheeks versus this Magic team that have, you know, Bernard King, the multiple MVP, NBA champion. They have Terry Cummings, Dennis Johnson. Do I even need to tell you what happened here? Obviously, the Magic win their first championship, and Terry Cummings wins Finals MVP, and Bernard King now wins his second NBA championship. 1988, Artis Gilmore retires with 2 championships and 2 MVPs. Magic Johnson is MVP again. Michael Jordan wins Defensive Player of the Year while adding 28 points per game, which is absolutely absurd. And the Cavaliers, which are led by Larry Bird and John Stockton and Bill Laimbeer, the whitest team in NBA history, versus Michael Jordan's Suns with Karl Malone. I mean, talk about stacked finals. This is going to be a pretty hype one. The Orange Finals, I like to call it. The Orange Rivalry. You'll see why I say that in a second. Let's see who wins this one. And Michael Jordan, why are you surprised, baby? When Michael Jordan gets the chance to win a championship, he's going to win it, and wins his first NBA championship with Karl Malone and wins Finals MVP. In 1989, Michael Jordan wins MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, and it's a repeat finals, our second big rivalry in NBA history. We have the Suns versus the Cavs again, but this time Larry Bird added Clyde Drexler to the team and Michael Cooper. Let me tell you right now, there was no chance. And the Cavaliers dominate and win this championship with the first real, I think, super team, aside from the Nuggets teams, ever. I mean, dominate Michael Jordan and the Suns. And now we have an official rivalry going on. But we're entering the 90s, but we're going to stop the video here. This is going to be a lot of editing, bro. But it was fun. It was actually really cool. We've seen a lot of stuff. Basically, the stats, the Nuggets have 6 NBA championships, with the Heat have 4. Those are the 2 big franchises for real. Bob McAdoo is basically the GOAT as of today. He's put up some crazy numbers. And Twyman also has some really big years. It's been a cool NBA so far. I think it's been pretty cool. Are you excited for part 2? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like the channel, please give it a sub. I'll see you guys next time.